What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. In today's news, Garry has fired back at Colby Covington. The public feud between Garry and Colby Covington has really kicked into gear this week after the Irishman responded to Covington's brash call-out. Chaos took to social media a few days ago to tell Garry he would be willing to fight him, dependent on a number of conditions, most notably that Garry's wife Layla would get on her hands and knees and beg him to accept the fight. Garry's initial response was brief. He posted a short video reply containing just one sentence.
"I'll respond in my own time, don't rush me."
Garry followed that up a little later with a more detailed reply on Instagram, saying,
"Listen here, Colby Chaos Covington. You are in no position to tell me what I should be doing in life. You'll do as you're told. You gave me 3 stipulations, all of which had nothing to do about fighting. But we're all talking about my wife. I don't know how you were raised, but women aren't property and my wife definitely ain't no trophy. You should be focusing on me. I'm the one who's in that octagon with you. I'm the one who's going to punch a hole in your head. So stop swerving me and keep Layla's name out your mouth. You're not America's favourite fighter. You're the only person in UFC history to lose 3 world title fights, and you haven't got a single win against anybody in the top 15 right now. So Colby, why should I fight you?"
But it seems that Garry certainly wants this fight, insisting,
"I'm going to be the final chapter in your legacy of failure. I am going to rid the UFC of Colby Covington for good, and I'm going to make MMA great again."
With Covington coming off a title fight loss to Leon Edwards in December and Garry rapidly climbing the ranks, it seems they're on a collision course to meet in the octagon later this year. Sean O'Malley vs. Merab Dvalishvili has been confirmed. Sean O'Malley made the first successful defense of his 135-pound title at UFC 299 with a dominant decision victory over Marlon Chito Vera. O'Malley first claimed the belt with an impressive knockout win over Aljamain Sterling last August, and it would seem a close friend of Sterling's believes he's next in line. Merab Dvalishvili is on a 10-fight winning streak in the division, and now that his former training partner Sterling is no longer sitting on the throne, he's made it clear that he wants a shot at the title next. The machine is coming hot off the heels of an impressive win over Henry Cejudo in February, and during a recent appearance on TMZ, he revealed that UFC President Dana White may have let it slip to him that he will, in fact, get what he wants.
I don't talk like this about this with UFC yet, but I did see Dana for a little bit. I just say hi, and I believe he told me you are next. That's what he told me.
After O'Malley dispatched the Vera in Miami, many, including Merab, assumed that the Georgian would be the single most likely next option available to the champ. But Sugar surprised a lot of fans when he called for a super fight against new featherweight champion Ilia Topuria next, and neglected to mention Dvalishvili at all. White seemed to pour cold water on the idea of O'Malley moving divisions in the UFC 299 post-fight press conference.
I don't know about moving divisions. Yeah. You know how I feel about that. I mean, even Topuria was talking about not fighting anybody in the division after just winning the title. Yeah. That's crazy talk.
Also this week, Nate Diaz is furious with the UFC's tactics. The ongoing saga of Conor McGregor's return to competitive action has been back in the headlines this week after the Notorious addressed the situation publicly while doing promotional work for his new movie, Roadhouse. McGregor told the Mac Life earlier this week,
"I had a camp in Cannes, the south of France. I had a camp in Dubai at World Champions training with me where I was hoping for a December date, then a January date, and then it keeps getting pushed back. Then I lose interest and stop training for a while."
The crux of the matter seems to be McGregor's contract situation. It's rumored he only has 2 fights remaining on his current deal, and the UFC may be reluctant to head into negotiations for a new TV deal later this year without some McGregor fights to use as a bargaining chip, all of which leaves the Irishman in limbo. It would seem he's found an ally in former 2-time UFC opponent Nate Diaz, who tweeted his sympathy for McGregor, saying, "This was me for years before Conor even got here. They want you to die before you get out of these contracts. It's up to you to make something pop. No one's gonna help you but you. Free Conor. It's at Paddy's Day in this." The pair fought twice back in 2016, sharing 1 victory apiece. A rubber match between the two has been rumored ever since, but it seems increasingly unlikely now that Diaz is no longer fighting in the UFC. He left after a victory over Tony Ferguson in 2022 and is scheduled to fight another former adversary, Jorge Masvidal, in a boxing bout later this year. In other news, Aljamain Sterling breaks silence on UFC 300 fight. Former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling is making the move up to 145 pounds when he takes on Calvin Kattar at UFC 300. After losing his title to Sean O'Malley last August, Aljo has finally decided to take the plunge and change weight classes. The New Yorker was long rumored to be contemplating the move and decided that now is the right time. Speaking on his YouTube channel, he says that he doesn't need to change his body to fit the new weight class, as he was always a natural featherweight competing in the wrong division.
Yeah, no, I'm not bulking at all. Just been trying to get faster, trying to get stronger, more explosive. Not necessarily trying to put on size, because I already got the size in comparison to all these other featherweights already. So now it's just focus on staying strong, keeping the calories up. I didn't realize I was relatively the same size as all these other guys.
The 34-year-old claimed the bantamweight title in controversial fashion when his opponent, Peter Yan, was disqualified for throwing a knee to the head of the grounded Sterling back in 2021. He won the rematch with Yan the following year, and he went on to defend the title against TJ Dillashaw and Henry Cejudo before being knocked out by O'Malley last year. His opponent at UFC 300, Calvin Kattar, sits 8th in the featherweight rankings and is currently on a 2-fight skid, having lost to Josh Emmett and Arnold Allen. If Sterling can pass this test, he should make an interesting addition to the 145-pound title discussion. UFC fighter responds to cheating allegations. There was a disappointing climax to the co-main event of UFC Fight Night 239 in Las Vegas on Saturday, as the bout between Angie Lusa and Brian Battle ended in a no contest due to an eye poke. Lusa was unable to continue, and referee Mike Beltran called a halt to proceedings just a minute into the second round. Tensions flared immediately afterwards in the cage, and the pair had to be separated by security. Battle seemed extremely agitated in his post-fight interview with Michael Bisping, insisting that Lusa was looking for a way out. Lusa spoke to MMA Junkie the next day, saying, "That's hard to take. I'm very disappointed. My eye is still hurting. This is not the way I wanted this fight to end up. That's it. I don't have much to say. I'm very disappointed. The UFC wants to send me to an ophthalmologist. I have to see another one back in Florida. We'll check and see what's going on. But I feel like there's something inside my eye. It's itchy and hurting a little bit. We'll check the eye and see how it goes from there." He's fought well in the first round. He definitely won the first round, but I'm not afraid of him. I started slow. In the second round, I was ready to go. I would never ever stop the fight if I'm able to continue. I wasn't able to see. It remains to be seen whether the matchup will be rebooked by the UFC. Conor McGregor in negotiations with the UFC. Despite the frustration over the ongoing delays in getting a confirmed date for his fight with Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor did, in fact, confirm that the lines of communication are open between he and the UFC, and that he hopes to fight sometime this year. McGregor also confirmed that there are just 2 bouts remaining on his UFC contract, telling Swedish outlet Moviezine,
I'm eager for that. You know, we're in the first quarter of 2024.
Yeah.
There's still a good chunk of the year left. I've got 2 fights left on my contract. Negotiations are ongoing. So when the promotional work of the movie comes to an end, when the St. Patrick's Day festivities come to an end, isolation and its focus and move towards a return to the octagon.
The Dubliner has only been seen in UFC action 4 times since claiming the lightweight title with a knockout of Eddie Alvarez back in 2016, a foray into the boxing world to fight Floyd Mayweather, and a catastrophic injury sustained in his last fight against Dustin Poirier in 2021 have both played a part. But it would seem that McGregor is eager to return to his roots and remind MMA fans just how good he is. At 35 years old and coming up on 3 years out of competitive action, the clock seems to be ticking on McGregor's career. The MMA community goes off on Dana White after a recent interview with Conor McGregor, where he states his frustration with not getting a fight date. Here's what Conor had to say.
Obviously, I've got the Diaz trilogy. That's what I had said for the Sphere. You know, there was cold water put on that publicly off the bat, and I wasn't happy with that. So I'm not that. I mean, I need discussion or conversation, because if I lose interest, I'm not getting anything back, and I just drift off, my man. So I hope I can get something in and get dialed in.
Here's what the MMA community had to say to Dana White. It's obvious they're trying to freeze him out because he doesn't want to renew an exclusive contract with them. You would think someone who has made them as much money as he has wouldn't be disrespected like this, but this is the UFC's history, so no one should be surprised. Even the guy who put UFC on the global map gets f***ed by the gross contract manipulations. He has 2 fights on his deal. He wants to fight twice, then get into boxing. Let him. He's done enough for the UFC. you, Dana White. McGregor made the UFC quadrillions, and this is the thanks he gets. Or maybe you're too busy slapping your wife around. Conor has 2 fights on his deal. Dana and Hunter can't waste them if Conor doesn't plan on re-signing. It's gotta be fights with Diaz, or hopefully for UFC's sake, Khabib. It needs to be needle mover opponents. You can't have Conor fight Chandler and Poirier, then walk out the door. UFC and Dana White is fumbling Conor, man. Don't make sense how he hasn't fought in 3 years. Dana really wasting the final good years of the sport's biggest star just so he can keep him locked to a contract, shaking my head. The more and more Conor opens up about wanting to return to fighting, the more and more I blame Dana White, cause the man literally said Conor makes too much money to book him a fight during one of his conferences with media. Alex Pereira got knocked out in sparring. He shared a clip of himself and rapper Lil TJ, where it looks like TJ might have got the best of Pereira. However, many fans are theorizing that it's staged. What do you think? Top comments. Sean vs. Dracus needs to be run back. I hope the UFC goes for it. Just say no to Bo. Someone responded with, look, I get that the bout position makes no sense, but the fight itself is interesting. Bo is fun to watch, and Brundage is coming off a slam KO. No, he shouldn't be on the main card, but it's still going to be a banger fight. Dana White, what about that super fight you promised us? I think a Merab fight is harder for O'Malley than Topuria. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.